What's going on, everybody? This is Al from PC Tech Review 101, coming back to you with another OEM PC conversion into a gaming case. Now for this video, I chose this old school HP Z420 workstation. Now back in the day, this thing was pretty powerful. It features a Xeon E5 1620 3.6 GHz 4-core 8-thread processor, along with 32 gigs of ECC DDR3 RAM. Now stay tuned and find out how I turned this old school workstation into a gaming beast like this. Now let's take a look inside before I take out all the necessary parts for a successful transfer into a gaming case of my choice. This old HP workstation came out back in 2012 and it was considered a pretty powerful machine, and still can be a great gaming computer in 2019. This motherboard can take up to a 8-core and 16-thread processor and up to 64 gigs of DDR3 ECC RAM, and it also supports SLI and Crossfire. Now let me take everything out of the case and show you what are all the parts we need for a successful transfer into a gaming case. So here we have all the necessary parts out of the HP Z420 workstation for successful gaming case transfer. Now let's go over all the parts and pay attention. First, I'm going to really quickly start off with this IO shield here that unfortunately this HP workstation does not have a removable IO shield, so I kind of had to put this together. But don't worry, you're not actually making it an IO shield. It's not as hard as you think. So basically, on the outside of the case, you're going to have this sticker-like material. It's pretty durable, it's thick. I'm going to show you here. See right there. So what you're going to do is probably use like a heat gun or a blow dryer to warm it up, and just maybe at the edge over here slowly peel it off gently, so that way you don't rip any of these thinner parts of the sticker. And then you put that to the side. Now also, once you remove the motherboard out of the case, you'll notice right where on the inside of the IO shield there's this aluminum IO shield frame that's attached. Now I used a screwdriver flathead to pop it off. It's kind of like riveted. You see these rivets in there? It's very easy. Now I know it looks all crooked and wrinkly on the inside, but we don't have to worry about anything because we won't see this once it's in. It's the outside part that matters. So what I did was I just put some clear tape to hold it together, and it's not bad at all. And we'll take a look at the end, of course, see how well it looks at the final transfer. Okay, now let's look at the very important things here. Let's go over all the connections on this motherboard that you'll need in order for you not to have any kind of errors upon boot up, or that fan kicking in at full speed, which is completely annoying, and in my opinion it's not even worth it at that point. So we have to take care of quite a bit of things in order for that not to happen. So these are all the connections here. I kind of left this front thing on here to show you. So the good news is this part here is a non-proprietary front panel audio, so it should work with the case of your choice, as you could see it. So I'm gonna unplug this and show you further down here. Here, this part I have cut off. This part will stay on the motherboard. This is a proprietary firewire connection, so you won't be able to use this. Again, we'll just tape this up and kind of hide it underneath. Let's move over here to the right. This is the front panel here, USB 3.0 connection. I'm going to go ahead and plug that. That will also be used from your gaming case, and next to it is a front panel 2.0 connection. So I'm just going to go ahead and just unplug that. So at this point, you're no longer going to need this connection here. I just kept it just to show you. So say goodbye to this. Okay, so that's out of there. Okay, so one thing I must tell you, all the parts I just showed you, 1, 2, and 3, they have to be connected. Also, this one too, of course, and so is this the front panel, the power on and thermal sensor. They have to be connected, otherwise there will be an error and the fans will kick in, and it's kind of annoying. So, for the case that you're going to choose, make sure it has both front panel 3.0 connection and 2.0 connection. That way you don't get an error. You can't just have just one or the other. Make sure the case has both. That way you don't get an error. I just really like everything to be perfect. Okay, next. This is very important here. This is going to be your power connection. Unfortunately, this thing has to be fully connected, and I wasn't able to bypass it in a way where you connect everything from the front panel and just maybe put some jumpers where it doesn't give you the error. So we have to keep this whole piece on. One of the main reasons is this thermal sensor here. There it is. That we're going to hide underneath somewhere, and I'll show you at the end. And this part is your front button that you use to turn on and off the computer. See right there? This part, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off, this plastic piece. And basically, this double gray wire, that's your power connection for your gaming case. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it somewhere there down, I'll show you at the end where I cut it. And I'm just gonna connect it and cut the new gaming case power connection. Just connect these two wires together, put some electrical tape, and that should be just fine. The rest of these wires here, I'm gonna cut them off completely, maybe closer towards here, and hide them. So basically at the end you'll just have this one wire coming out of here, and you'll have this sensor here, wire 2, that I won't cut. And that's how it's going to be. And again, I'm going to go over that again for you. That's very important stuff, so you don't get an error or the fan kicking in at full speed. Okay, now let's go over here to the right. This is some other important stuff here. Now, I just kept the speaker for you if you want it, because it is a proprietary speaker, and it has this connection here. Let me show you. But you don't need it, because it does not give any errors. So I'm going to take this and just get rid of it. I will not use this for my build here. Next, this is one of the most important parts here. I was waiting this for almost a week. Again, this is another adapter that you must have, and I ordered on eBay. This was $9.50 shipped. It's a 24 pin into, let me see how many, I just forgot now. That's a 4 into 18 pin adapter. Now when you look for this on eBay, you'll know it's right when it says, it'll actually say for HP workstation Z420 and dash some other model, but that's how you know it's the right one. Again, this is only $9.50 shipped, and you will need this for a successful transfer. That way you could use a normal power supply. Okay, now let's move over to the top here. Again, as usual, I kept the DVD burner here. Chances are for a big case, you probably have a slot for that, so you could use that, but it's not necessary. That's optional, so I'll put this to the side. Let's go over a couple of things here. Now, there's a couple of more items that must be plugged in, otherwise you'll get another error. So here, this part we're going to have to keep. This is the RAM fan, and it kind of goes over here like that. Has to be connected right here. There's a 4 pin right over here. Now actually, now that I thought about it, you might just plug in an extra fan at the top of the case, and maybe that'll take away the error. That's probably I'm gonna test that out, and I think that should be fine as long as something is plugged in this fan. So it's up to you. It kind of just stays here. It doesn't bother this connection. It'll stay down like that. Also the rear fan here. Again, if you want to keep the original, it'll look something like this. This is a 92mm fan, You kind of could keep it like that, it's up to you, but you could also get a bigger exhaust fan. There's a 4-pin connection, but you could use a 3-pin connection, which I've tested. A 3-pin exhaust fan connection will be just fine. So I'm just gonna unplug that for now. And chances are here you just have a, you know, maybe a top mount fan with a motherboard pin connection. A 3-pin should be fine also. I'll test it out at the end once I have everything built completely. Now here we have the CPU cooler. This is definitely, I'm gonna keep this. There's absolutely no reason to change this because it's pretty beefy looking, and you're not overclocking. You can't overclock on this motherboard, so this will be just fine, and it looks pretty decent. And we have, this is definitely proprietary. It's like a 5-pin connection here, so you're gonna have to keep this. This is not a 4-pin, it's a 5. It even has that extra wire going in there, so definitely gonna have to keep this. And once again, this motherboard did come with 32 gigs of RAM. They're originally connected all on the right side. I might mix and match and put some here to get on the other side. I'm not sure why that's like that, but it's been running fine just the way it is. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the transfer. All we have to do now is take a look at the final product and go over one more time all the cabling and wiring and see how well it all came out. So stay tuned for the final transfer. Well, there you have it. The HP Z420 is finally converted into this gaming case. Now let's see if this bad boy starts right up. And there you have it. As you could see, it starts right up, no issues at all. Now let me go over some of the parts that I used. For starters, I had this old, I guess you could say at this point it's over 10 years old, this Cooler Master Stacker 830 case. It's pretty big, but surprisingly it's not that heavy. It's a real pleasure to work in this case. There's plenty of room, and very easy to go and maneuver some of the wires. I know inside it's not the prettiest wiring because there is really no way to hide the wires when it comes to this case. It's really made for convenience and really has really good cooling and stuff. Also, I end up using a generic 750 watt power supply, name brand Solid Gear. I wasn't gonna go any higher wattage for this build. Just wanted to see if the conversion could be done. So as far as I know, I have no issues, and I tested this rig already with this cheap power supply, and it seems to be running pretty good. The graphics card I used is a EVGA GTX 970, which is working pretty well with this processor. Also, like I mentioned before, it came with 32 gigabytes of DDR3 ECC RAM. Originally, when I first took this thing apart, all the RAM sticks were on the right side, but I spread them out the right way, the way the guide says. So 2 8 sticks on the right and 2 8 sticks on the left in the black slots for the optimum performance. And I do have, as you could see on the left side, the RAM cooler fan right there that has to be plugged in. So after this full rebuild here, this transfer, currently I have no type of errors when I start up the computer. But I must admit, this wasn't the easiest gaming transfer case that I've done before. I originally thought some of the wiring on the bottom could have been changed around, but when it came down to it, there were some issues. And in a little while, I'm going to zoom in into the bottom section. That's where you really have to concentrate and really go over how I was able to get everything done. And also, I just put in a couple of LED fans, front 120mm blue LED fan and a rear exhaust 120mm red LED fan. And yeah, this thing performs quite well. I'm very happy at the end. And the good news is, and later on, believe it or not, this motherboard could be upgraded to a better processor, a more core processor, which is an 8-core 16-thread processor. I believe it's an E5 2670. Now later on, I may order this processor, as it's right now on eBay for really cheap. I believe 46 bucks shipped or something like that. So that'll be a really good upgrade for this thing. Currently, we are at E5 1650, which is a 4-core 8-thread processor, 3.6 gigahertz. But I will upgrade it to the 8-core 16-thread E5 2670 down the line, and maybe change some things around and do another video on that, and to see how well it holds up in some of the gaming tests I'm gonna do for the modern games. So yeah, let's take a closer look inside, and I want you to really focus on the wiring part because it wasn't as easy as I initially thought it would be. Okay, so here we are. We're on the bottom of the case, bottom of the motherboard where all the main connections are. And let me just go over a couple of key points here, very important. So yeah, on the left here, I'm going to use my pencil, I guess. On the left here, that's going to be your, what's an 18-pin adapter. Very simple. That's the easy part. You plug that in, and then, as you could see, it goes. Let me just show you. Yeah. Plug that in, and that's your regular 24-pin connection. It just plugs right in. I just placed it on inside here to try to cover it up as much as I can. So yeah, that part was easy. That, you know, those adapters seem to work pretty well most of the time, so I didn't have an issue with that. Next is gonna be okay. By the way, this case did not come with the front USB 3.0 connection. It does not have it. It just has USB 2.0. Now, I originally tried this in the other case that has both 3.0 and 2.0, but I wasn't able to get the error out, even though I used the case's 3.0 front panel connector, which is would be usually right here. And every time I plugged in any other one from another case, for some reason the error just stayed on. And crazy or not, believe it or not, when I plugged in the old one from the case, which is at this point I kind of snipped it and I hit it under the motherboard. So this is like a dummy 3.0 case here, 3.0 wire. Of course it has to be plugged in so you don't get the error, but this is from the original Z420, so I kept that. I cut it, you know, I left a lot of room for it so we could hide it underneath. The usual method, I just taped up the ends with some electrical tape. So I end up keeping that just so not to have errors. Okay. Okay. Next, the wires that we have here is, what's this? No, I forget what this is. This yellow wire. Let me get back to it. Okay, so that's plugged in. These two here are USB 2.0s, so they're working pretty good. Now, there's another connection here for 2.0, but I noticed that when everything is plugged in, don't plug in the front panel USB 2.0s in this section here. This is the third one to the left, but the first one and the second one to the right here, that does not give an error, and they are fully functional. So this case has two areas in the front, two separate USB 2.0, so I got like a total of 4 to plug in. Your case might just have one, but it looks like, not to get an error, you just plug it in any of the first two and not the third one. When you do plug that in, it gives it an error. Okay, now I remember. This yellow connection is the original USB 2.0 connection from the front panel of the Z420. Now, again, originally I thought that if I use one of these from another case, the error will go away, but no. This is another dummy cable that you must keep. And again, use the same way that I did. I snip it and I tape up the edge with the electrical tape, and I hide it underneath the motherboard or wherever you want to hide it for a cleaner look. So this is a dummy 2.0, dummy 3.0. Must be here so you don't get errors. Next, to the left, this is the front panel. Very important. This is the front panel cable that allows you to turn on the computer. And again, I originally thought that if I plug in all the pins from the gaming case that I'm using from the front panel, it'll take all the errors away, but unfortunately it didn't work out like that at all. The fans kept spinning. So what I end up doing is just taking that whole front panel wire. I didn't cut it. I kept it all original because this front panel does have a thermal sensor, and also it had a rubber sleeve around it which separates the front panel connections and also the thermal sensor. So you would have to peel that off. So what you'll have is the thermal sensor wire, which is all black thick, and your whatever 4 or 5 of the wires for the front panel, but only one of them could be used. And this brings it to the next point here. So the way I made it work with the power button, and this is the only unfortunate thing that you have to do. See this green? This is your power connector. This is from the case, the green one, the green and black connection. So I went ahead and snipped it and stripped the corners, and then I did the same thing with this front panel wire. And when you follow it, you'll see that the 2 gray ones together are for the power connection, and I did the same thing for that. I stripped them, I tied them together with some electrical tape, and there you have it. So we're actually keeping quite a bit of dummies from the original case in order for it to be successful without an error. So let's go over it one more time. You got one 2.0, you keep that. You keep the dummy 3.0, and when it comes to front panel, you actually keep all the wiring and just hide it in the back, and you're gonna splice just the power one. You will see it. You'll just follow the wire and you'll see at the end there's a power button, and that's how you know which one it is. It's double gray wires. That's the ones you're gonna splice together with the front panel of your case. One little cut, not a big deal. And then the next one here is a dummy firewire cable. This white one right here. That's also dummy that you're going to transfer over again. I know it's a little bit annoying, but at the end I think it's well worth it. Same thing here. You cut the end, you put the electrical tape, you scoop it underneath, you hide it the way you want it. If you have a different case, you could even hide it better. But at the end it's a clean look. And plus this case that I chose is kind of have a lot of wires too. Now another item I was actually able to use from this case, a front panel audio speaker connection. So yes, that worked. That's a perfect fit. Did not have any errors. So the only things we were able to use from the front panel wiring here is the front audio, and in my case 2 USB 2.0 connections in the front. Those were able to use on this motherboard with no errors, and everything works. The front panel stuff works pretty well, audio, and same thing with USBs. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to go over that. Overall, everything came out good, and this platform performs quite well in gaming. So all there is left to do is to see how this bad boy performs in some of the titles that I chose to test. Stay tuned.
Der Hahn reißt dich. Sammeln. Brechen Sie durch Barrieren, Kerls! Wie geht gleich sachlich? Sei stark, Hartmann. Befolge einfach deine Befehle. Sieht gut aus. Alles weiter an Oberkommando. Schienen sind frei vom Feind. Gute Arbeit, Antonai. Die werden Sieger haben Sie keine Chance. Rücken Sie jetzt auf der Hauptstraße vor und helfen Sie der Infanterie. Auf zur Hauptstraße, Kerls. Los! Sherman, Sie rücken vor. Aber nicht Kontakt zu einem Schutzpanzer. Wir sind zerstört. Wir haben keine Chance, Junge. Vorwärts. Wir müssen die Truppen der Amerikaner ausschalten. Wie stark sind Ihre Verbände? Spielt keine Rolle. Sie sind uns nicht gewachsen. Alles fertig! Weiter auf der Straße! Zerstören wir ihre Verteidigung! Anvisieren! Artilleriestellung zerstört. Jetzt die andere. Feind zerstört. Scheiße! Schön! Kein Durchschlag! Wir haben hier eine Menge Gegner, Kommandant. Gnade ist Schwäche. Ich werde meine Mutter stolz machen. Das Ziel ist erledigt. Das müsste die letzte Artilleriestellung gewesen sein. Anton 1. Feindliche Panzerdivision versucht, den Dach zu stellen. Sofort angreifen und abwehren. Mein Gott, das ist eine Falle! Mein Gott, Schnauze!
I can't believe what happened. They must have seen the train coming. I should have known better. Those fucking... My dad tried to fight. So, they took him. My dad tried to fight.
That's not funny!
We weren't their only victims. But my mom managed to bring survivors together and we all tried to build a place where we could sleep.
Quit it!
That was too close. a tunnel up there that leads to Hope County. The highwaymen are blocking our way in. We're gonna need some firepower. Let's keep moving. Through that old mine when I left to get help. There's a workbench inside. You can use it to build a weapon. The rush was supposed to be the final piece so that we could finally fight back. But now, we're worse off than we were before. I'm sorry about your people. Yeah! I'm sorry about your people. I promise, I'll figure out a way to make this right. You can use benches like this to build makeshift weapons and refill ammo.
It's a ranger.
Not just any ranger. It's Jersey.
Holy shit! It took his whole head off!
So much for Ranger Jersey.
He's not gonna defib out of that. It's all up to me now. I'm taking that armor.
You're good. Shit, Mom's gonna skin you alive messing with Ranger gear.
But it's still got a lot of Jersey in it.
Yeah, but it's our only shot.
Lily, I need you in the garage. Walker, get your ass to the courtyard.
On my way.
Hey, Walker, Sergeant Mom needs you at the courtyard. Get going. Mom really tried to keep you out of that armor as long as she could. Wonder why.
Getting jealous, Lily?
Damn right I am. I would have been the youngest ranger to ever get sworn in, if not for this bullshit nanotrike crap.
Walker, what's keeping you? Get over here.
Hold on, Walker's inbound.
You remember what they told us at the academy about the ranger armors? You can overdrive when it's charged. Cut your enemies to pieces.
Let's see if we can jumpstart this. Clear.
Wait! First general, Private. I want to go. Good, sir. They're all dead? Not here. That's gotta be fine. I want to see what they took them. They took them all. Every single first general. I hope you got something for me in here, Browley.
Unknown intruder. This is Presidio Security Protocol. State your name, rank, and business.
Wall Rat Unit, Corporal Walker. I'm here to find information about Ranger Unit Sergeant Rowena Prowley.
Processing. Security Protocol override.
Walker, you're seeing this message means you're gonna hit harder than ever before. Unlikely dead and violence linked